This slideshow includes information regarding muscle action during gameplay of arcade game Time Crisis 5. Information included will discuss the muscle actions involved in the task, whether or not the movements are against gravity, gravity dependent, or gravity eliminated, the primary muscles involved in the task, the types of contractions occurring with each muscle involved, whether or not force couples are being utilized, and what exercises could be done to strengthen and lengthen the targeted muscles for optimal performance during the task. To begin gameplay, one must first take possession of the weapon. This requires concentric flexion of the shoulder to about 40 degrees against gravity, concentric full extension against gravity, followed by flexion gravity assisted of the fingers to reach out and grab the weapon, ulnar deviation gravity assisted, and abduction against gravity of the second digit to place it beside the trigger guard. Muscles involved are listed below: shoulder flexors, elbow extensors, ulnar deviators, finger flexors, finger extensors, and finger abductors. Eccentric contractions taking place are shoulder extension, elbow flexion, and finger flexion during finger extension. In this picture, the yellow arrow represents the approximate 40 degrees of shoulder flexion. The green arrow represents the full elbow extension, and the white arrow represents the ulnar deviation needed. There is no arrow representing the finger flexion. However, as one can see, fingers need to be flexed in order to grip the weapon. Removing the weapon from the holster requires slight concentric shoulder extension against gravity and simultaneous concentric elbow flexion against gravity. Muscles at work are the shoulder extensors, latissimus dorsi, and posterior deltoid, and the elbow flexors, biceps brachii, brachioradialis, and brachialis. During this movement, the shoulder flexors and elbow extensors are working to decelerate the movements in preparation for transitioning into gameplay stance. Upper extremity muscle involvement during gameplay includes finger flexion against gravity represented by the weight of the weapon, otherwise it would be gravity eliminated, to firmly hold the weapon. Flexing and extending the distal interphalangeal joint of the second digit, gravity eliminated, to pull and release the trigger. Flexing and extending the distal interphalangeal joint of the first digit to toggle weapons. Extending the elbows, gravity assisted, into a firing position. Flexing the shoulders against gravity to 90 degrees. And horizontally adducting the shoulders against gravity represented by the weight of the weapon, otherwise it would be gravity eliminated, to about 20 degrees. In this picture, the arrow facing up represents the static movement of the shoulder flexors as they must maintain this position for proper and effective gameplay. The arrow pointing from right to left represents the full extension of the arms during gameplay, as well as the slight horizontal adduction taking place during gameplay. There are no arrows representing the hand. Force couples occur when two or more muscles are moving in different directions to create the same rotary movement. During gameplay, the actions of the anterior deltoid, clavicular pectoralis, and long head of the biceps brachii work to create a scapular force couple when shoulder flexion is between 30 and 90 degrees. Lower extremity muscle involvement during gameplay includes hip flexion and knee extension against gravity to reach the action pedals, plantar flexion, gravity assisted, to push the pedal, dorsiflexion against gravity to release the pedal, and hip internal and external rotation against gravity represented by the weight of the foot in dorsiflexion and hip flex the lower extremity, otherwise it would be gravity eliminated, to switch pedals. During gameplay, the shoulders must maintain a flexed and horizontally adducted position. Exercises to facilitate this would be push-ups, flat bench press, and front raises. For the lower extremity, during gameplay, static hip flexion and repeated plantar and dorsiflexion are required. Exercises to optimize this would be straight leg raises, ankle four-ways, toe-offs, and calf raises. As previously stated, during gameplay, the shoulders must maintain a flexed and horizontally adducted position. Stretches to facilitate this would be corner stretches, passive range of motion stretches into extension and flexion of the shoulders, and also stretches for the latissimus dorsi. As far as the lower extremity is concerned, static hip flexion and repeated plantar flexion and dorsiflexion are required during gameplay. Stretches to optimize this would be ankle stretches in all planes to target the anterior tibialis and gastrocnemius and soleus muscles, as well as hip flexor and hip extensor stretches for iliopsoas, hamstrings, and gluteus maximus.